And I believe I did that in the correct order. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
We'll be checking over here. Let me put my earphone in so I can make sure that the audio is coming through. I know we're going to be dealing with a delay. Oh, hang on a second. There's Big Bear's already in. That's for you, Big Bear. Hey. And we're back. Live from Brookhaven. It's Sunday night, J&J says. Yes. Glad to see you guys here. Sorry for the mix-up. A little, I forgot. I had done a good job and set up some events for several weeks in a row, and then forgot about it until just a little while ago, actually shortly before 4 p.m. Central Time. And so when I went to go set up the event, I forgot to notice what time. I was so used to setting them up for 5 p.m. Central, I didn't notice that it defaulted to the top of the next hour, which was 4 p.m. Central, an hour earlier than it was supposed to be. And so, we're in here getting everything set up and kind of ready to go. And I use Patty. I've got Patty's laptop over here to the side, where on my laptop all I've got running is Wirecast. That helps so much better with the CPU usage. Like right now, I'm only using 50% of the CPU and dropping no frames and all that. In fact, next week, if I remember, I may try to go back up to 1080p. I'm at 720p right now, and it's doing great. So I'm on Patty's computer, and I pull up the event page, and then I go to the watch page, and I see the chat box going crazy. And everybody's in the chat, and they're like, I don't know, it said it was going at 4 or 5. I'm like, oh, no. So I jumped back and corrected the time and all of that. And y'all, our show brings rain. So
yes, it does.
If you're in an area that needs rain.
Well, wait a minute. It usually brings thunder, but today it did bring rain.
Yeah, it at least brings thunder, because
yes,
just a few minutes ago it was thundering, shaking the house, and we're like, here we go. So it's like every week we have to say, if we disappear, we've lost power. And
and I'm so glad we did. I think last Sunday or Sunday before it thundered, but we didn't get rain. We actually got some rain this evening. So
yeah, we did, but not much.
We needed it bad.
I'm looking out the window right now, and
it's stopped now.
It's stopped now. So much for that. But we needed it, boy, because I cut grass the other day, and it looked like the Dust Bowl. It was bad. We're kind of up on a ridge, so our rainwater doesn't stick around.
Yeah.
It can come a gully washer, and within a day or so, it looks like it's hadn't rained a drop.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, I want to say too that sometimes y'all see me laugh. Well, and it's not usually when my daughter was dancing for me and I was laughing at her. But sometimes I look over here in these comments and I have to chuckle. So somebody was roll tiding you.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Well, you notice I've got my hat on. I'm not a fair weather fan.
He's a diehard fan.
I'm a diehard fan. Carly-Ann's hollering Hail State. I've got a Mississippi State student, so she's a diehard fan too, because Mississippi State bit the dust to a lesser opponent yesterday. And I'm not going to go off on a tangent of talking about LSU football. It's just a sad state of affairs in the Bayou, folks. So anyway, it was very disappointing. I posted on Facebook, we've heard about in the offseason all these big changes that were going to be made, and they were going to open up the offense, and they allegedly went and visited some spread teams that run spread offenses just to pick up a few wrinkles, and we don't want a full spread, but we just want to spread it out a little. And so I posted on Facebook last night that the best way to describe my feelings was I was like a kid who waited months for Christmas morning expecting a brand new thoroughbred pony, and only to wake up on Christmas morning and find a dead mule under the Christmas tree. Because not only did nothing change for the better, it seems like we regressed. And taking nothing away from Wisconsin Badgers, they're a great football team, great history there. And they played really, really well, so I don't want to disrespect them in the least. They deserve to win that game. And anyway, but I got my hat on because I'm a Tiger. I bleed purple and gold, and I'll be a Tiger through thick and thin. It just may be a very, very long football season. So,
but he'll watch it, or he can listen.
I'll watch or listen. You know, if it continues to be as bad as what we saw the other night, I'll lose the urge to feel like I have to watch it and find a way to listen. You know, and instead, but. Anyway, so there's my little LSU bit. I'll tell you this. Somebody said roll tide. Patty was laughing about that. I'm going to tell you something. I also posted on Facebook a confession that I didn't start watching the Alabama game until it was in the third quarter or so. So I missed Alabama's early struggles. A friend of mine who's a diehard Alabama fan told me they did have some struggles in the first quarter, which I'm not sure I believe. But I thoroughly enjoyed watching Alabama completely beat the brakes off of USC.
Yeah, he was going for Alabama. I looked at that and I said, "Are you going for them?" And he
said,
"Yeah."
You know, I've got LSU friends who refuse to pull for. You know, they would pull for the Taliban if they played against.
Oh, that's going a little too far.
Against Alabama, you know, North Korea, they'd be pulling for North Korea.
That's too far.
Nah, that's too far. But they don't pull for Alabama under any circumstances. I've always been one of those kind of guys that I pull for other SEC teams when we're playing out-of-conference foes, especially if it's Notre Dame or USC. Those teams have historically been overrated, and I love it when they get spanked. And but you know what? So I enjoyed Alabama beating the brakes off of USC, number one, because it was USC, and number two, because it was just a pleasure watching a football team who was fundamentally sound and could execute. You know, they were just like a machine, and it was fun to watch. So I may enjoy watching Alabama some more this year if I have to. I don't know.
Well, I'm not into sports. Shelter said that they're always completely lost when it comes to sports. Well, I'm not totally lost because I overhear this kind of talking and stuff, but I'm not. I could care less, but
relax, mother.
Anyway.
Many horses. We're done. You don't have to go get ice cream. She said if we're talking about sports, she's gonna get some ice cream. So that's it. I just wanted to get that out, and because I'm probably going to be quiet most of this episode. Patty's going to be talking about her gardens.
No, well, I just want to say, I don't know if you saw it come across, but Bonnie said her husband Steve was able to preach. We prayed for him last week because he'd been having seizures, but he was able to preach.
We got a critter back here fooling around with the...
Oh, that's Tootsie.
I got stuff moving.
That's Tootsie.
Yeah, but the cord was, I mean, this thing
Oh, that was me.
Oh, that was you? Okay,
yeah.
We're good.
I kind of move around, so I was kicking the cord. Anyway, but what I had thought about talking about tonight was our fall garden. We're just starting to think about that and get going with all that. I would have liked to have had bush beans in the ground. I haven't done that because I was so... Oh, I took a picture. What are you doing?
Nothing.
I took a picture. Where's that picture? I sent you a video. You were supposed to play that tonight. Did you put it on Facebook or whatever on YouTube? I did a special video.
She sure did.
By myself.
Let me see if I can get it. Hold on. Keep doing what you're doing.
When I was in the garden, I went to check things out in my garden. A friend of mine that I've made through our YouTube, Jana. I hadn't seen her on here. She was going to try and be on tonight. Anyway, which of course I'm scrolling through here, and so there she is. She says you're a nut too. Yeah.
I've been called worse. I was a police officer for 20 years. I've been called worse.
And Big Bear says LSU must have too many tacos before the game.
Or not enough.
Yeah.
That's what it was. They didn't have enough tacos.
But anyway,
keep talking.
No, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, that's enough of taco video.
Keep talking.
Well, I forgot what I was gonna say. I brought Jana up, and then I forgot what I was gonna say about Jana. Anyway, there she is. Hey, Jana. But oh, I know what I was gonna say. She was saying she had watched some of our garden videos and said how nice our gardens looked and everything, and I said, well, They don't look like that right now. They look so bad, and I really wish Tommy could have got out there and filmed a video of them. Well, and you've seen some of them when we've showed pictures of the Bielefelders, and when the Delaware was still in the garden that we call the barn garden. That's my garden, and it's just awful, awful. But anyway, we've got to get out there and clean it up. And I was out there just looking around because I did move some peppers. Remember when the cow got in the garden and knocked my tomatoes over? They actually landed on my peppers, so I dug them up and moved them closer away from the barn, still in the barn garden, but where the chickens couldn't get to them once we let them in. I replanted them in beds, and they actually, I think they all live from that transplant, which I was very shocked. But we had started getting rain and everything, so it really helped them. And I tried to keep as much dirt on the roots as I could. But anyway, I was just out there looking because I was trying to see if I had to pick some peppers or whatever. And the grass is just so tall. I was surprised that the chickens haven't eaten it down, excuse me, more than they have. But anyway, so
just ignore what I'm doing, all right?
I'll try to.
Just keep talking.
Right in front of my face.
I know, but just don't. You don't have to see any of this.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to find that video.
Okay, all right. Anyway, I'm looking at the camera.
Look at the camera. That's good. You're not supposed to be looking there anyway.
Anyway, so as you keep messing my train of thought.
Sorry.
So I was just walking around, and I said there's a hot wire fence in there, and I always get shocked when I get to the hot wire fence. But anyway, I stepped over the hot wire, and I was pleasantly surprised because if you remember, the cow had eaten. That's not it.
No, it's not it. I'm just looking.
She had got in my garden, and she actually plowed through my snap beans, and what she had done was pushed them over, and some of them were dead and everything. So we went ahead. That's when we made the decision to go ahead and turn the chickens into the garden, and I just assumed that with their scratching and everything that they would completely kill the snap beans. And I was so pleasantly surprised that when I got over there, I actually had snap beans, and I picked. You don't have to find the video. It's too late.
No,
I've already told them.
Keep going.
So I actually picked a gallon of snap beans. So I was so pleased, because I was so disappointed when all that happened, because I had not canned enough snap beans at that time to last the full year. I had canned enough snap beans to last us if we got to eat snap beans through the freeze that were fresh, and then I had enough canned ones to last all year. And so I was a little concerned that we may run short on the green beans. But anyway, I think I'm going to be able to pick. We got this little rain, so that's going to help them. So I should be able to pick snap beans maybe again tomorrow or the next day. So I was just very excited about that.
I can't find it anyway. I apologize for having all my concentration focus faces. I realize, hey, I'm on camera like,
So anyway, but that, to me, that's good news for my snap beans. So I'm going to still be able to we'll be able to eat fresh snap beans until freeze.
That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I was really.
You probably already said that. So
yeah, I did. Well, and I mean that's the garden that we actually have picked like the snap bean rows that we've actually picked like 2 or 3 5-gallon buckets off of. And so, a gallon's not that many, but that's plenty enough for what we need right now to get us through. Of course, the 2 younger kids are going to college now, so they're not around. So it's just me and Tommy right now. So anyway, but that's getting us through. One other thing that I want to plant, and I'm kind of running late on it, is I'd love to get some squash in the ground because, remember we're down here in Central Mississippi, South Central, Central South.
We're in one of them zones.
Yeah, so we can plant things late, but I'm looking at my little planting guide, and really August 15th was the cutoff for in Louisiana anyway, because we're close to Louisiana too. I use that one too. My planting guides, you see, I've had them for years, and this is my one from Louisiana, and I have little notes written all over them and everything. But and then I have one from Mississippi too, and I have little notes and everything written all over that too. And if it probably has stuff misspelled on it, I'm not a speller.
Let me say that again. Now let me just tell y'all something, folks. You want to know one reason why it's Patty's garden and not Tommy's garden? Look at that. That's a bunch of little bitty numbers and stuff.
No, it's not that.
I look at that. And my eyes just go crossways.
This is my papers. It's my important papers. Anyway, that's what I was going to say, too. I was talking with a friend of mine. We actually got together and got to go shopping. Oh, I need to tell you about that shopping trip, too. Anyway, and she was like, she was kind of fussing. Not really fussing, but she's like, we just got through with the garden, and he's thinking about next year's garden. And I just had to think, yeah, I am, too. But, you know, because... You know, it's kind of different in our family. I'm the garden planner and everything, and I mean I use his muscle and stuff, but
I'm the dirt guy.
So anyway, I am thinking about next year.
Hey, but don't let her fool you. She's all dainty and pretty looking thing, but she'll work you in the ground. I got news for you.
But anyway, but right now, you know, I have thought about the spring and what I'm going to do different in the spring, and I really need to sit down and write some notes about that and what I want to plant of what did good this year and what different things I want to try. Because, you know, I'm always tweaking and changing and stuff like that. One thing I do want to change is in my greenhouse, I did buy the soil to use for my seeds and everything, but I really wasn't satisfied with what I had, and so I think I'm just going to try and use some of the soil from around here and see how it goes, and maybe just put some of my manure with it. You need to be watching the comments since I'm talking.
I am.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
having all kind of fun over here.
Oh, okay.
So hang on
All
a
right.
second. I've actually got. Let me scroll back up. Just go ahead, and I'll let you know.
But anyway, so for the fall, you know, we have those peppers still growing, and I was talking to my neighbor across the street, Marilyn, and she was saying that she thinks that maybe it's all in my head, but she said, I think the peppers do better in the fall when they really start putting on, and that's been my experience too. So I have my peppers still growing that we've had, and I've picked very few of them. Of course, you know, with the transplanting them, it did kind of set them back. But anyway, so there's a lot of peppers out there, so I think I'm going to be able to do some pepper sauce this year with the peppers and everything. But I really want to get, and I would have liked to have gotten some tomato plants in the ground, but I didn't get those in. But I'd like to try and do some broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage, and I definitely want to do some mustard, which, you know, it's not really time to get that in the ground, but it's time. My boxes are such a mess, and that's where I'm going to put them, is in my boxes that I need to start cleaning them out. Oh, but I want to plant some more potatoes. You know, you can plant potatoes right now.
Yeah.
So we're a little late. But anyway, I'm going to put the potatoes in a box too, and I have some that's sprouting. Go ahead.
All right. You are just burning through this. Remember, it's 5:15.
No, I've only talked about 3 vegetables.
All right, good. Well, just hang on a second. I got a couple questions.
You know how you are with pigs.
Yeah. Speaking of pigs, Jared says, just like a pig guy, to talk about pigskin.
Huh?
That's what they call football.
Oh, yeah.
And there is one more comment I need to address about the game, and it's a serious comment. And then I do have some questions for you. But
okay.
Palmetto Paratrooper pointed out that was a horrible late hit at the end of the game. I can tell you, Palmetto Paratrooper, that all the LSU fans that I know agree, and we were disgusted by it. And it's our opinion that guy should not only be suspended, he should be dismissed. And there was one funny comment I saw about it that said that was the only guy he hit the whole game. But yeah, it was ridiculous. And he claims that he thought the ball was live. I don't know, but he should at least serve a suspension. It was uncalled for. All right, let's see. Somebody saw. I don't see it again, but I'll get to it in a minute. And they were asking about, in reference to your planting guide, have you noticed over time the actual best dates shifting by a couple of weeks?
Well, to be honest, I have my one from Louisiana, and this is, we've been here 16 years, so this is over 16 years old. I've kept it because it has some vegetables on it that my Mississippi one don't. And my Mississippi one came in this Farm and Land Almanac, and it has 2000 to 2001 on it. So it's almost as old as my Louisiana one. I got this when I first moved here. And so this is what I consult. But I'm going to tell you this. I was kicking myself that I didn't have my garden planted back in February, this year,
Yeah.
in March. But I'll try and get out there now. A few times, I think 2 or 3 times, we've gotten messed up to where when we got our snap beans in early, and I was out there trying to make plastic tents. Tommy's out there with me trying to cover them up because I had planted them too early. We were going to get, remember, we were going to get a freeze and all that kind of stuff. So I use this as a guide, but like for instance, I just looked, and the potatoes, really the cutoff for the potatoes for
Just
Mississippi.
a rule of thumb, just a rough guide.
The potatoes really is supposed to be August, where is it? August 1st through the 15th. That's your last planting dates for the fall. Well, we're in September, but I'm going to plant them anyway.
I'm going to plant them anyway.
And I have potatoes that are sprouting. It's not
Darn the
hurt
rules.
anything, but I do try and plant a few things even earlier. So, I haven't compared planting guides, so I don't know. I don't know if it's changed, but I would imagine, it really does change, year to year. You just,
Jared had a comment about being hot. Palmetto Prepper was talking about it took him 2 years to get accustomed to the garden looking bad, but it doesn't matter, as long as it produces. And Jared's making a comment that it's been too hot to keep the garden clean.
Yeah.
And we completely lost our big garden. I don't know if you talk about that, but
no,
not just because of the heat. It just was I think we've talked about this before on the show, but it was a perfect storm. There was a period of time where I was sick as a dog for an extended period of time. Then we had deluge, continual rain, and next thing you know, there's just a point where it's too late. There's a point where the grass overtakes everything, and it's just too late. So.
And we had really planned on probably just mowing between the rows because Tommy had made them really far apart, and but we never did get the grass from between the plants. I did harvest some zucchini and some patty pan squash out of there.
I don't know if y'all can hear the tap dancing going on behind us. That's Sugar Bear. She just had a bath, so she's
excited.
She's doing her post-bath tap dance. We Tree Bonsai asked, and I had already answered this in the chat, but do you send home your canned goods with the kids? And the answer, yeah, we do. We send some home.
Carly-Ann, and I told them, if y'all help me, I'll can some stuff for you. And Carly-Ann really likes the snap beans and that we can, and so she did. She didn't help me can hers, but she did help me. She says she picked them, but she helped me with the snap beans that I actually was canning when I was canning in quarts. I think she had already left for the summer to go on her mission trip when I actually canned hers. But I got her, I think, 16 pints put up for her of the green beans. So
that was Go for Green Living that had asked about the dates changing.
God, Sugar Bear, please. I want to say something, and now I done lost it because it went up. Wendy in Nova Scotia says that they plant in May. And see, we're most stuff is getting planted. Our spring crops is April, but some stuff. Whenever somebody else types something new, it goes up.
Oh no, that ain't what just happened.
Oh,
if that's the case, 500 people just typed something.
Oh, well, you want to use the iPad?
No. I was scrolling up and I kind of got hung, and next thing I know, it looked like a ticker tape or like a receipt.
But anyway, there is some stuff that we plant, like in March, like you can actually put the corn out. You can plant corn. We've never planted our corn in March. Usually, my papa was a big gardener. We call him Papa Mr. Rowe. He's my papa that lived to be 106, and he always planted on Good Friday. And so I kind of use that as my rule of thumb. I'm always planted by Good Friday anyway. Sometimes before, or maybe like the week after, but sometime around Good Friday is when I plant. And I don't know if that's a Catholic thing. We're not Catholic though, but Papa was.
Yeah, he was.
I don't know.
Yeah, or it's just an old.
That's just
an old custom or not.
Yeah.
It's kind of disconcerting when you're scrolling through the chat and you get the Big Bear Homestead and all it says is just fish, poo, and pee. I just had to stop for a moment and say, did I read that correctly? Obviously, I missed the rest of that, but let's see. I'm scrolling carefully, looking for capital letters. Let's see. Go for Green Living. They're the ones that asked about the changing dates. if you feel like it's shifted and it's, they're saying, yeah, I asked that, but he agreed. I assume it's he agreed with what you had to say about that. Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. Fire those questions in, folks. I guess I'm down to
another
the bottom.
Another thing for me, lettuce is August 15th through April 30th that I can actually plant lettuce, and I usually would throw seeds, spread seeds in the boxes to grow my lettuce, but I really liked growing my lettuce seeds in the greenhouse. And putting out plants, because you don't have all the skips and you can evenly space them. I did plant my lettuce between my tomato plants. I won't in rows, and I won't do that again. Mm-hmm. That was just too much. I'd rather have them in my boxes, because I sit on the edge of the box and I just reach in and I can harvest off of a lot of lettuce plants from right there in the garden in rows, with them being between the tomato plants. Number one, it was hard to keep the grass out. Number two, I was having to bend over, or, I'll crawl on my hands and knees sometimes, but, on each side of the row, would be harvesting. I could only reach maybe 4 lettuce plants. And when they're in the box, I can harvest, a fourth of a box, which I don't know how many lettuce plants would be in that area.
It looked pretty.
So, when the grass wasn't in it, when it was first,
when we first did it looked great looking down those rows. I call those my the BLT minus B rows. Yeah. Because we hadn't planted any bacon plants in there yet, and but looked pretty cool. Somebody said on the Good Friday thing, we find it Ginger Rose. Says it's actually a moon thing, since the date of Easter is determined by the cycle of the full moon. So that makes sense, because Easter's never celebrated on the same exact date each year.
That's right. And Mama had said too about how Papa planted the root crops that's below the ground and the crops that are above the ground. And I guess I need to find out what the rule is. I bet you somebody on here knows the rule, but there's on different phases of the moon. On the increase, you do one thing, and on the decrease, you do the other, which I've never really been into that, and understand all that. But anyway.
Don't look at me.
So, anyway, carrots too. I want to get some carrots in the ground this year. I was pleased with the carrots last year. They were very good, and I thought they really did good. So.
Why, yes, it is. Butterfly on my wall. She says, Patty, is that an Instapot on your counter?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
I used it today, too.
I'm going to tell you something. We keep saying we're going to, once Patty has kind of really become a guru of the Instant Pot, we're going to do some videos of it. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you what, that thing is unbelievable.
I love it.
We've got a link in the description. Oh. Will be in the description of this video. I don't think we have like an Instant Pot link. I can put one.
I think you do.
Maybe I do, but I know we've got an In Patty's Kitchen link that goes to
it's in there.
A wish list kind of thing on Amazon. But I'm going to tell you something. Take just a second and talk about your Instant Pot since it was brought up. Tell just some of the amazing things.
Yeah, it's just really amazing. Now, I did have a little boo-boo today. I didn't cook my roast long enough, and so I had to recook it. I mean, cook it longer, but it was no big deal. But it just makes everything quicker. And I'm familiar with using a pressure pot on the stove. Mama used one, and so I grew up around it. I'm not scared of them. I've always.
My mom used one.
Yeah, his mom. I actually have. I have your mom's. Yeah, that's your mom's that I have. But anyway, so I'm not scared of them. I respect them very much, and I've always warned my kids and Tommy, and I actually I gave Carly Ann an extra warning today because I left for church before she did, and my pot was just cooling down, but I didn't release the pressure. I was letting it come down naturally, and I reminded her. I said, "No, you don't open that pot," and she said, "I'm not going to open the pot." And I said, "I just wanted to make sure." Because, they can be dangerous if you do not respect them and you don't, do it like you're supposed to. But I always made our stew meat and gravy in the Instant Pot. and I always did my green beans in the pressure pot, and I always did green beans in a pressure pot. And I actually have a video of doing green beans on the stovetop.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm unfamiliar
on a stovetop pressure pot.
Yeah, on the stovetop. One thing I don't know, I did do green beans in the Instant Pot, and I know on the stove how long I cook them and everything, but on the Instant Pot, the electric one, I don't know how it compares, and I just have to do some research online. But what I love the most about the Instant Pot, as far as like my meats or anything I cook in it, is that the electric pressure pot, is that you set the timer. Yeah, you turn it on, you put the time in, and you walk away.
You walk away from it.
You don't have to heat it up. Once you get your seasoning and your meat and all that in there, but you set the timer, you set your time, and you walk away from it. It's going to naturally, it's going to come up to pressure on its own. You don't have to turn anything down. It's going to cook for a lot of time, and then when it's finished, it actually has a keep warm function. So that's what I love the most about it, because I really could do a lot of what I'm doing with my stovetop. My stovetop pressure pot. But one thing, it doesn't heat up your kitchen near like cooking on the stove. Not near as much.
No, it's pretty cool.
So, yeah.
All right, so folks are saying they do want you to do some Instant Pot videos. So
okay, great.
We'll work on that. Patty, where did you get Cockeyed Homestead? Where did you get that list? I'm assuming you're talking about the planning guide.
Yeah, and somebody said the planning guide. Yeah, your extension office will have it. I actually picked up this at the feed store. They have this out every year. I'm gonna put the front of it up there, and I guess they still have that one or whatever. But the county extension office, I've actually I said I haven't compared, and I haven't compared them, but I have gotten one from the extension office. There is one. There is another one.
Yeah, and you can probably, Ginger Rose is asking if the MSU Extension Service has that planning guide. Check with your agent. You can probably also find something similar from MSU at the MSU Cares.
Yeah.
Is that .org?
Yeah, and they have a publication for planting guides and everything. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you this, I printed that out one time. I didn't realize it was the same thing that I could pick up at the office, and it's a few pages, but you can just pull that out and print that. So
yeah,
but it's and they one thing I have to say now, a lot of people don't do organic gardening, and so they're not as familiar with stuff, but with different pests, knowing about fertilizer, and they may not have the question, but our extension office, Rebecca Bates is our extension agent, and she is just invaluable. In fact, she actually puts on classes for anybody can be invited to it, but the farmers market vendors, a lot of those come to the meetings, and it's just, she has different people from Mississippi State come and from around the state to give educational talks and classes about gardening. So that may be something that some of y'all may be interested in, and something that may be happening in your area. So it'd be good to check out your extension office and see what they have to offer, because they do that. Ours has a lot to offer. So.
Yeah, Rain Country Homestead makes a good point that the planning guides are strictly to be taken, not strictly, as a general rule of thumb, because there are microclimates sometimes even within some counties.
Right.
That's true. It's just it's kind of a rule of thumb. If you don't have a clue, you can kind of get a ballpark idea, but you're not breaking the law. You're not breaking either man's law or God's law if you decide to deviate from that schedule. Doc, it looks like Doc's already had his question answered. It's a pressure pot.
Okay, thanks, Jared. He posted the link for the extension office, the garden.
You the man, Jared.
Very nice.
Y'all don't forget to J&J Acres this evening. And by the way, we forgot to mention, if you're new here, and I don't think there's anybody new here, but if you are new here, we're doing this as part of the Homestead Network. And you can go to thehomesteadnetwork.com and find out more about who the Homestead Network is. There's a channels page that'll tell you about all the channels, the YouTube channels that are involved. I just gave it away. It's a collection of YouTube channels. And you can go to the shows page, I believe it is, on the website, and there'll be a weekly schedule of YouTube channels that go live most of the time, not an hour before they're supposed to, like we almost did today.
They go live on the time that they say they're going to go live.
Yeah. So after this show, unless somebody tells me different, Ted will be Who's After Big Family, and then I believe it's J&J Acres after that, and then Homesteadonomics, I assume, after that. So we've got your evening covered as part of the Homestead Network, and we really enjoy having the opportunity to do this. So.
Yes, it is nice. All right, I'm going to go down my list and say, because I've talked about a few things, but we already have our green beans about what we're going to have for this fall, hopefully have for this fall. We've got our green beans growing, thank God for that. I would like to get some broccoli plants, cabbage plants, and cauliflower plants. Definitely carrots. And look, I noticed that, well, wait a minute. That says July. I thought maybe that was my Louisiana one, said cucumbers. Yeah, the Louisiana guide says that you can plant cucumbers from March through September 1st. So, I don't know. What is this? September?
So today's September 4th.
No, my cucumbers wouldn't have enough time to make, that's for sure. I will plant, kale. We're definitely going to plant kale. It's time to plant kale, Tommy. And kale overwinters. You can like pick it through the winter, and then in the spring it starts growing again, and you can pick a lot of kale in the spring. And so that's what we did last year, and it really worked out good. Lettuce, mustard. And it says on here that onions, September to October. I didn't do very good with my onions, but there's something about how you're supposed to pull the dirt away from them. So I might try it again if I can get a box clean. Also, garlic. That's not on a lot of planting guides, but garlic you plant here in our area. You plant it in October, and then you're going to harvest sometime April, probably sometime in June. I know that I've already planted my tomatoes in the ground, and they're growing good when I harvest my garlic. So, you know, it's kind of hard because it kind of messes up your spring. For me, it messes up my spring planting because it takes up the whole bed, and I can't really plant anything with it because you're digging up the garlic, so it would disturb the roots of anything else, unless you have some kind of quick crop that you're growing.
Hey, and Patty mentioned kale. A lot of people tell jokes about kale. I love it.
We like it.
I mean, I love it.
And it's so much easier to clean, and then it doesn't shrink as bad as cabbage,
spinach, other greens, yeah,
right. Spinach
Mustards.
and mustards, and so
it's
I
so
really
substantial.
Like it. Yeah, and I dehydrated some kale, and the spaghetti gravy that I made in my Instant Pot yesterday had kale in it. I crunched it up. I dehydrated. Just see if I have some of it. I had put some of the stuff. My kale is over there in the cabinet. But anyway, I dehydrated it, and I crunch it up, and I put it in, different things like that. It really don't have a taste once it's dehydrated, and it still has a lot of nutritional value.
By the way, here's an interesting question. Who knows what she's talking about when she says spaghetti gravy?
Oh, well.
No, that's not wrong. I'm just saying not everybody calls it spaghetti gravy. Where's your kale?
It's above the stove in the spices. Reach around the back. Open that other cabinet. Reach around the back. It's back there. Well, spaghetti gravy. You got to have gravy. Look on the lid, baby. You got to have gravy to go on top of your spaghetti noodles. So that's what I just call it, spaghetti gravy. All right. Tommy's mama called it meat sauce and spaghetti. So is that better?
No, that's not. Nothing's better or worse.
Well, you can't really see my kale. That's a little piece of it right there. But I didn't crunch it up because it said, I've read that it's better, well, especially with your spices, to not pulverize it until you're ready to use it. So I just left it. I just squished it down in my jar. So, but that's a little jar of it, and I'll just throw some of that in my, because a lot of times when I make spaghetti gravy and spaghetti noodles,
By the way,
we don't always eat another vegetable with it, so I'm bad about that sometimes. That's just our meal, and so if I throw some kale in it, we're having a vegetable too.
and y'all gonna think we're lying. You're gonna think we've set up the camera shot with that Instant Pot back there. I promise we didn't. Patty, lean this way. That's her other favorite thing right there behind her.
Yes, that's my dehydrator.
That Excalibur dehydrator, y'all.
I like it.
I mean, she keeps that sucker humming.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know what? I've got my some of the stuff that I've dehydrated there, and so I'm going to finish going over my the stuff I want to plant, and you'll understand how much work you've got ahead of you.
Okay.
And anyway, then I'm going to show them some of the stuff I dehydrated.
All right.
So some of the
Hey,
stuff,
before you get to going, Jana wants to know from Tall Oak Farm, do you use diatomaceous earth for the garden?
Oh yes, I do. In
Yeah.
fact, I ordered that from Azure Standard, and it's affordable from there. I have
50-pound sacks of it.
Yeah, I think that was it $26?
Something like that.
Yeah, and so they
Don't
actually
quote us on that.
Yeah, don't quote me on that. But they actually had it on sale last month or month before last, and I wasn't near about through with my 50-pound sack, but I went ahead and got another one because I thought, might as well get it on sale while I can. But anyway, let's see. I said mustards. I have my peppers still growing. I'm gonna plant a few potatoes, just to have a few fresh potatoes. Tommy got some spinach seed at the store, and I'm gonna put a few squash seeds in the ground, just to have some fresh squash. Not enough to try and put anything up, but maybe like 6 to 10 plants or something like that. Maybe I'll make a few squash. We'll see. Because I just get to missing the fresh stuff, and I froze some squash. I didn't can my squash this year. I froze it, and it's mainly to make casseroles with, but I was hungry for fresh squash, and it don't taste the same once it's been frozen, so I like some fresh squash. I may plant some beets. I like beets, but I'm the only one that likes them. But well, my mama likes them. He can't stand beets.
Well, I might as well just go grab a handful of dirt.
Oh, they taste good.
They taste like dirt.
They don't.
Of course, I mean, it'd probably be healthy to go grab a handful of dirt.
That's right. Remember that article you read?
Yeah.
Anyway, back to, I want to talk to you about the stuff that I'm spilling it. Some of the stuff at the hydrate. This is cherry tomatoes. Let's see if I can.
Hold it there for just a minute to let it focus. Come out a little bit.
Am I doing something?
Well, using it. We love our. Here, let me hold it.
Yeah, you hold it. You do better than that.
We love our Logitech 1080p webcam, but Jared can talk about this. It's got an autofocus feature, but
there it is.
There it is.
And that is my tomatoes that are that's golden pearl cherry tomatoes and black cherry tomatoes. The dark one is the black cherry, and those two are our favorite, and the pear tomato. And all I did was slice those in half and put them in the dehydrator, and they really turned out good.
What about these that are on the floor now?
You can eat them.
Okay.
So
I will.
Anyway, here's basil.
25-second rule, right?
I still have basil growing. The chickens didn't eat the basil. It's actually in the part where the chickens were. I don't know why they didn't stomp it down or anything. Another thing that I dehydrated was figs, and I was very pleased I did this last year, and I sent quite a bit of figs to my older son Cameron, that's in Oregon. He loves figs. I can't even move it the right way.
I know.
You do it. Tommy's better at that kind of stuff than me. But I washed my figs, of course, and then I sliced them in half and I dehydrated them. And they're a treat. They're very sweet when you dehydrate them.
I can't get it to lock on it.
Well, there's an X on there right now. Can you see the X?
Where's the X?
Right there.
Oh, yeah, but that's not what that is.
Oh.
Well, I can't get it to focus right, folks, but y'all know what a fig looks like.
It looks ugly when it's dehydrated, but it tastes really good.
It tastes really good.
And I make a granola cereal, and I'm gonna put some of these in my cereal too. I forgot about that when I made it last time. One thing that I use a dehydrator for, bananas. I think this was probably markdown bananas. You know how good bananas are when they're dehydrated. And so I just dehydrated a bunch of bananas. I actually need to do some more. That may be my last one. And so I dehydrated those to use. And then this is one of my favorite things that I've done is onions. Onions were on sale or either marked down that I bought. And so I sliced them like they were going to go on a hamburger, and then I cut that in half. And so they're little long pieces, and I just take a handful out, and I just have to crunch it up and throw it in something, and it really adds a lot of flavor. I don't have my snap beans over here. I canned them at Mama's, and I just haven't carried and brought some over here because I usually cook over here, but I left them there for storage. But which y'all know, Mama's house is right next door. So I have, I don't remember how many jars I canned, but I canned a bunch of jars of figs. I also did quite a few jars of tomatoes, of cooked tomatoes ready to go into my spaghetti gravy that I make. So
spaghetti sauce.
Spaghetti sauce.
Other people in other areas of the country.
Funny to say spaghetti gravy.
Well, I mean, it's just it's an area thing.
Yeah.
I mean, some people, somebody was pointing out that it's a spaghetti sauce if it's got meat in it, and it's marinara sauce without meat in it. So, I mean, to each his own. I know what she means.
And he likes it.
See, when in my mind, the word spaghetti includes all of it, the noodles and the meat sauce.
For supper. Yeah, we say that too.
Some people say meat sauce.
Yeah. Your mom always did meat sauce and spaghetti. And I made salsa. I made quite a bit of salsa with our tomatoes. We did really good on the tomatoes, even though Honey knocked a lot of them down. We had done good. And I also canned quite a bit of, I did figs. Oh, and I didn't bring any strawberry figs out, but anyway, I got strawberry figs too.
Oh, so, she does. She just found out about another thing to do with our figs too.
Oh yeah.
We got to do a video on this, y'all.
Yeah.
Fig ice cream.
It's amazing.
Go ahead and tell them. Well, before you do that, Suburban Hillbilly was asking if we got any bad weather from the hurricane.
Oh, no.
That said my son had to grab what he could and come home to Georgia. No, we didn't, thankfully, and we're sorry for those who were in the impact zone. We're very thankful that not only that we missed it, but our folks in Louisiana who had already been so hard hit with the flooding. So we did have some not strange, but some windy days. It's so funny. You look at that radar, and we would be like just not even anywhere close to the storm, but it was just moving the atmosphere so much that the wind was blowing in directions that it normally wouldn't here. I'm sure that's probably what that was.
Doc asked how I cook the kale, and I cook the kale just like I do mustard greens and spinach. And I'm gonna tell y'all this: I've not always eaten mustard greens and that kind of stuff. Mama never cooked that, and so I hadn't developed a taste for it. And I really think it's an acquired taste because it can taste really bad sometimes. But
what
anyway,
is that? I was reading
mustard greens and spinach. I just haven't always eaten them.
I love it.
Going to Tommy's mama's house, eating Sunday dinner and all, she always cooks spinach. They love spinach, and she'd make, I wouldn't try just cooked spinach, but she'd make spinach casserole. Remember?
Yeah.
And I would taste a little bitty piece of it because I wanted to like it because I knew it was good for me, but I did not like it. And so I think that really kind of helped my taste buds. And so now I love mustard greens. And I first started eating turnip greens. Tommy really doesn't care for turnip greens as much as the other greens.
That's one of my least favorite greens. I'll eat them.
And I've really, the mustard greens, the last 2 years I planted the mustard greens, and that's when I've really started eating them is in the last 2 years. So therefore, I will do some sausage, which the last mustard greens I took out of the freezer, and they do great in the freezer too. I cook them all ready to eat and put them in the freezer. But the last ones I took out was cooked with some sausage, link sausage, that I cooked first, and then I added the mustard greens to it, and then I cooked it down. And so Tommy liked it a lot that way. I prefer the bacon taste in there, but I do the kale the exact same way. Now, kale doesn't get as soft.
No, it's much more substantial.
Yeah.
It's got a, and I'll walk out there and grab some of it right off of the plant. And,
Yeah, eat it raw.
And eat it raw. It's really good.
He's really liked the kale.
And I want to ask the group a question.
Mm-hmm.
I have, as long as I can remember, my favorite green has been spinach. Ever since I was a little bitty boy. So let's see some guesses in the chat. Who can tell me why, as a little bitty boy, I had no trouble eating spinach and have loved it all my life. Ready, go. So you keep going, and I'm going to see what they say.
All right. Another thing, I was going to tell about the fig ice cream.
Yeah, tell them about their fig ice cream.
A friend of mine from the farmer's market, Lynn, told me about this, and I finally tried it, I think, last week. And I counted what I did this time, too, because I just kind of did it. I put 12 figs in the food processor. This is for 2 people. 12 figs in the food processor. Everybody knows the answer.
Yeah. That's right. Boy, they're just flying through there. That's exactly right. Let me interrupt long enough. Sorry about the delay, but boy, all the answers came in. Man, before, my mom and them didn't grow anything when I grew up. Everything came out of the grocery store. Because my parents were Depression era folks in Mississippi. And in fact, I think I was a teenager, and I feel like deja vu. I've told this story before, so just bear with me. I may tell it again before this show's over. I asked my daddy one time, because our neighbor, Mr. Gene, would grow a little garden every year. We were in a subdivision, but he would have a nice little garden. And I'd say, Daddy, how come y'all don't grow anything, a tomato plant or something? He said, he looked at me over his newspaper. He had his newspaper, and he folded it down. He said, boy, I've planted the last thing I'm ever going to plant. He said, that's what grocery stores are for. So I say that to say this. My mama would buy those big old cans of spinach, and I would pop the top with a can opener, but I wouldn't let her take it all the way off. So I could eat it out of the can like Popeye. I just couldn't quite crush it like he did. But I love spinach. To this day, if Patty would cook it, I'd eat a 5-gallon bucket of spinach, cooked spinach.
Yep, he likes it. Big Bear said that they have the same dehydrator and the same spice rack.
Come on. Have you looked in your kitchen lately, Big Bear? It might not be there.
But anyway, so back to the fig ice cream.
I am what I am.
You put 12 figs, frozen figs.
Frozen figs.
I washed them, and then I froze them. I think I washed them first. Ooh, we might be eating dirty figs.
That's
but they're
all right.
not that dirty. Anyway, 12 frozen
Tastes
figs.
better than beets.
In the food processor. And just a little bit of milk. And you start pulsing it to start pureeing it up. And then you kind of look at the texture, whether you need to add more milk or not. It's going to be like soft serve ice cream because you want it totally pureed. But after you've got it mixed up some, put a tablespoon or 2 of honey in there. But that's all. Not a ton of honey, just a little bit of honey. And go ahead and get that mixed up really good. And that's it. And it is amazing. I gave it to my grandson yesterday, and he's 4. He said, "This is delicious." So... He really liked it.
It's really good, and you put a little honey. You said
I did
you mentioned
put a little
that.
honey, yeah.
And we've actually talked about trying it with instead of milk, yogurt, or
Yeah, yogurt would do good.
One of the
like
other,
vanilla yogurt would be fine in there
just
too.
to play with it. But y'all, I'm talking about it is fine.
And Tommy's not a big fig person.
I like raw figs. I don't like
Yeah.
fig preserves.
Yeah, but you don't like raw figs like I like raw figs. I mean, you don't like them a lot.
I mean,
you'll eat them.
I do.
Yeah.
I just like. I don't like picking them.
I'm messing this up.
Sorry.
No, not you. I said me.
Oh, that's right. We Tree Bonsai points out taste buds have a tendency anyway to change every 7 years.
Yeah.
That's right, because I grew up hating asparagus. I love it now.
Yeah, and you eat cabbage now. When we first got married, you wouldn't touch cabbage.
Yeah, but
but you like it right now.
Yeah, but I guess I never explained this to you, but it wasn't that I had this guttural dislike of cabbage. I just didn't care for it.
Yeah.
And you taught me to like it, but I had a guttural dislike of asparagus. It was my taste buds. I mean, my taste buds just absolutely rejected the flavor of asparagus. But I just had to swallow because my taste bud, my mouth was salivating actually thinking about asparagus.
Well,
I
we
like
need to start
asparagus.
growing asparagus
Yeah,
again.
well,
Now.
it takes 100 years or something.
No, not quite that.
Not
but
quite that, but it takes
we
a
didn't
while.
have a good go around. Somebody, let's see, Butterfly on my wall says, where do you put your diatomaceous earth, in or around your boxes? I actually will put it in my boxes, and I'll put it on my plants. We have to be really careful with our bees. We do have one beehive. We've lost a couple of beehives, not because of my diatomaceous earth, but just because we did. But anyway.
They didn't die, they left.
Yeah. So I'm careful when I use my diatomaceous earth. We had a bad worm problem on the tomatoes, and I left the flowers up top. I didn't put the diatomaceous earth there. I did it all around the bottom to where tomatoes were already forming, where bees weren't going to be getting there. So I was real careful with that, and it did work. I was able to get control of the worms, although they were really, really bad, and I will be adding it to my soil over there. I'll use it as a top dressing, and I probably will work some into my soil in my boxes once we get out there and start pulling the grass out and getting it worked up for the fall stuff. I'll put some actually in with my soil. So, what? Oh, you
I know
crazy?
what happened. I know. Never mind. I did that to myself. Here it goes again. How much do you have left? Because we've got like 6 minutes left. I need to remind everybody that when the time is done here, we'll do our best to end on time and go on over to Big Family Homestead. Say hey to Brad and Krista. We'll join you there, hopefully, shortly after the show begins. But I also want to mention this. I've been meaning to mention this the last couple of weeks and have forgotten. And by the way, Patty, there are a couple of other questions. But as you all know already, the video recording of this show will be available on YouTube sometime shortly after the live show ends. But we also have relaunched our podcast, which had been dormant for a while, not really doing anything with it, our audio podcast. It's called Alderman Farms Radio. You're not going to find it on iTunes at the moment. We moved over to a free podcast hosting service called podcasts.com. And I'm having some difficulty getting the feed straight with iTunes, but it is immediately available on Stitcher. And of course, you can find us on podcasts.com. But just for driving, and I know Jared at J&J Acres is doing this too, turning his live YouTube shows into audio recordings on his podcast. So it won't be exactly the same because you won't be able to see things we're holding up in front of the camera.
We should have announced we are holding up cherry tomatoes.
Well, we did, I think, but anyway, it might be nice if you've already seen the show and you want to have something to listen to driving down the road. So just know that Alderman Farms Radio is our podcast. Audio will be available there shortly after the live show ends. Now let me see if I can find those questions right quick. What does diatomaceous earth do in your garden? Marlene's Whole Food Life wants to know.
Okay, well, it actually kills bugs naturally. It's an organic material, and it actually cuts their outer surface. Is it their outer skeleton or something? Whatever the bugs have, it cuts them and it makes them dehydrate.
Yeah, so, it's like they're like,
and it takes a few days.
Yeah.
It's not instantaneous. It's not like the chemical that you put on your plants.
Look, I'm gonna tell you, you can find research out there that says diatomaceous earth it's all a big bunk. That there ain't nothing to it. I don't care what you read. It works.
Yeah, it's really
it has worked for us. So we don't care whether it's true or not. It works.
Yeah.
And so we keep using it. So
I see Kitty has asked if we're going to be posting some of these recipes on. Recipes to our videos. Actually, probably what we'll do is we'll actually make a video with like the fig ice cream. I'll be putting that. We'll make a video of it, and Tommy always writes down the recipe at the bottom, so we'll do that. And I need to measure. I'm not measured my milk, and I just kind of poured the honey, so I need to measure where I can give an exact recipe. And I guess what I talked about too was the cooking the mustard greens and the spinach, and we'll do the same thing with that. Hopefully, when I grow some this year, it'll grow.
Yeah.
And we'll do that. So.
Grandpa said his favorite greens is the $100 bills. They're tough on salads, though, Grandpa. Kind of get stuck in your teeth. Not that I would know, because I don't have any.
Oh, and Butterfly on my wall says Dehydrate to Store has excellent videos on dehydrate, and I didn't know that, but I would like to see that, because I bought the Excalibur book when we got the dehydrator, and I'm very pleased with the book, but I would like to do some more stuff. I want to try my hand at doing some different soups. I do a squash bisque, and I need to do a video on that, but I would love to do that with all dried ingredients, and where I actually would like to sell it at the farmer's market. I think that would be good.
Well, thanks for the moderators doing a good job. Apparently we had a troll, and the moderator swooped in and dropped the ban hammer, and I love it. Ain't nobody got time for that, as they say. So good deal.
Butterfly on my wall asked about radish greens. I've not had radish greens. I've had radishes, and I really wasn't crazy about them, but I want to try them again. I want to try them again. It's probably time to plant radishes too, since it's time to plant turnips soon. Soon for me, not right now.
All right, we're out of time. The time has caught us, and so with that, we will bid you adieu and say head on over to Big Family Homestead, and you can listen to this podcast on Alderman Family Radio, and you'll see the video there as well soon. I mean, on YouTube. And
I'm going to go scroll through here and make sure we didn't miss any questions. If we did, we'll try and address them at the beginning of the next show.
Hey, and if you've got any questions you want us to address next time, email them to us at aldermanfarms.net. Put question at aldermanfarms.net.
Yes.
All right, see ya.